Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to this video on lure fast charging in the plains. I'm also going to be covering just charging lures in general when you're playing Wisp and how to force spawn Vombalists in various locations. But for the start of this video, we're just going to cover the DPS fast charging element of the game. The reason that we need to do this is to get a lure charged as quickly as possible so that we can tether the first terror list of each Eidolon run, and also get to that terror list fast enough to put down some Unairu Wisps for our teammates, who will then be able to take out the shield, the first shield of terror list, much quicker. So for this, I like to use two spots. I use one more than the other. So the first one that I use primarily is Cliff Camp, which is over in this direction, and we're going to go and have a look. And the other is East Camp, which is over here in this direction, and we'll have a look at that in a second as well. So I'm in Capture mode at the moment, just so you don't get bothered by any of the enemies that will just spawn naturally here. But what we'll do, we will head into the plains at night, and we'll just do we'll do one run on Cliff and run on East, and then what we'll do is I'll show you some spots where you can force spawn Vombalists and methods to use when you're playing Wisps. So, first of all, let's go and have a look at Cliff Camp. So, what you want to do as a general rule is you want to be able to put down some waypoints, some lock pins that will show you where you should be stopping in order to force spawn Vombalists. So your first lock pin for Cliff Camp, if you look at these two kind of obstacles here, so we've got this kind of branch and this rock, should be up and just behind to the left, so around about here. And you want to kind of edge your way in with any of these kind of spots. You don't want to go in too fast because then you won't give the Vombalists enough time to load in. So do make sure to just stop slightly before wherever you put your lock pin around here and just edge your way in closer until you see enemies spawning. If you do that, what you'll see is usually surrounding this area there will be Vombalists. Sometimes they're over here, kind of in this area, and sometimes they're over here around this area. And sometimes they are right on top of it. It's worth noting as well that if you stop too early, you will get them down here. And this does cause a problem sometimes because the lure will then have to path down this cliff, which can sometimes take a while. But obviously, you know, if you're using your third ability on its Sal, then it shouldn't be a problem. And they should be able to just be sucked into the lure that way. You can then obviously use your secondary or your primary if you want to shoot the Vombalists, and then they will obviously go into the lure. Do not shoot the Vombalists before hacking the lure. If you do that, then they will not be counted into like the charges once you've actually hacked the lure. So make sure to hack the lure first, then suck in the Vombalists, and then shoot them. That way, you'll always guarantee that you get 2 or 3 in there. So the second point that I want to raise before we head over to East Camp here is that if you're in a 2 or a 3-man squad, or even solo, you will only get 2 Vombalists at the camp. You will never get 3. Even in a 4-man squad, if you have someone who is a late loader, so maybe they have a bad internet connection or they're running off of an HDD rather than an SSD, what you'll find is that sometimes you will only get 2 Vombalists over there still, but if you're in a 4-man squad and everyone loads on time, you should get 3 Vombalists at the camp. And that's pretty much the sum total of it. If you're in a 3 or a 2-man squad and you only get 2 Vombalists over there, then the other way that you're going to get the next Vombalists is from your VS players in your squad dashing as they come out of the gate over to this section here. And then what you'll see is Vombalists spawning along this section here, all the way over to the forest sometimes. And that should do you for the remaining charges you need for the lure. For East Camp over here, it's just there. You'll notice this kind of large rock here and these 2 tall trees here. You want your lock pin to be somewhere above this area. You'll get the sort of hang of it after a while about where to place it, and you can always move them around just to figure out the best spot for getting Vombalists. But essentially, again, you want to do the same thing as Cliff Camp. You want to stop just before it, edge your way in until you see the Vombalists, and then you want to head over and, yeah, same as before, come in, shoot the lure, hack the lure, and then pull the Vombalists in and shoot them up. And that should charge the lure. So that's essentially the 2 spots that I like to use for fast charging. Again, my preference is Cliff Camp. I tend to get Vombalists more consistently at Cliff Camp, but I know a lot of people get Vombalists more consistently at East Camp. It's just whichever you prefer using. and whichever you obviously find easier to use. So what I'll do, guys, we'll head into the plains at night now. I'll show you just a little quick run of each camp, and then what I'll do in the same video there, I will just go over some of the spots where you can force spawn Vomvalists as Wisp, and then that should do it for this episode, guys. So I'll see you in that night clip now. Okay, guys, so it's now night time on the plains, and we're going to go ahead and try out both camps here. So we're going to do East Camp first, and then we're going to do Cliff Camp, which is my preferred choice. And then we're going to just have a look around and see if we can force spawn some Vomvalists in. And we're going to have a look at some of the points where you can force spawn Vomvalists as Wisp, and the places I like to do that. So we're going to head in here. First thing we want to do when we exit the gate on the other side is hit R2 on Vault to get some speed, and then we're going to jump into our Archwing and fly over towards our Lockpin. So let's go ahead and do that. And there we go, we got Vomvalists straight away there, which is really nice. So let's just head in here, hack the lure, suck these guys in, and we can pop those, and then head back over towards gate to get the rest of our Vomvalists. And once we've done that, we'll head over to Terrorist, and we can start the fight. Like I said before, as a VS player, you would dash out and spawn the Vomvalists over here for your DPS player. And once they're there, the DPS player can fly back and obviously do exactly the same thing, teleport the lure over and put the Vomvalists in. So what we'll do now, we'll head out and we'll re-enter and we'll go over and take a look at the cliff camp over there. So same again, come out, we hit R2, go into our Archwing, and we fly over to our Lockpin and gradually work our way in. You saw we got them over to the left there. They were a bit further away, but we can use our third to get those guys coming towards us. And same thing as before, we come back and we look for the Vomvalists over here at the cliff. So that's the gist of it, guys. Obviously, you can do whichever you feel more comfortable doing. You can do East or you can do Cliff. Or if you have another camp, you can force spawn them at other camps. Don't think that those are the only two options. You can force spawn them pretty much at any camp, really, if you get the right positioning. You can obviously just go ahead and fly in and force spawn them. So I'll just quickly run over some of the spots and how you would force spawn Vomvalists in if you're playing Wisp. So the key to force spawning Vomvalists in certain locations is not to just rush into those areas. Like when you're gathering the lures, you want to stop just before them and then edge your way forward until you see the Vomvalists spawn. So if you have any kind of spawn in sort of this half of the map, anywhere around here, so from the lake down there, any of these areas over here, I'd highly recommend trying to get your Vomvalists over outside gate or over at the hill behind gate over there. They're usually some very good spots to get them. If you don't get them there, don't worry. If you have a spawn that's sort of over here or right over here, this is the furthest spawn point, I believe. What you can usually do is just fly up, and you should actually see some Vomvalists sort of around in these trees and up this cliff area here. If you edge your way around, you will see Vomvalists spawning. But for the purposes of this video, I'm going to be focusing on the area over there outside of gate. So we're going to head back over and just have a look at that now. So if you were a Wisp and you were looking for a way to gather up some Vomvalists, what you'd do, you'd come into sort of a decent range around the gate here, and then you can just sort of edge your way forwards until you see Vomvalists spawning in. Now, don't think that they will always spawn either. Sometimes they spawn, sometimes they don't. If you've spawned Vomvalists elsewhere, then obviously you shouldn't have to worry. But again, we can try and force spawn them down here. There we go. So there we go, we've got some more there. What I would say about this spawn is that they can spawn anywhere from down here all the way up this hill. They can spawn here, they can spawn here, they can spawn anywhere around there, really. What you can actually do, if you've obviously got the ones from over here, you can come back, and hopefully this will work. Yep, there we go. So you can keep going backwards and forwards in this location and just continually spawn Vomvalists. There we go, we got another two there. And this works pretty much all of the time. Sometimes it doesn't if you've got a full squad and they're all sort of around the map, you know, and they're spawning things elsewhere. But most of the time you can just pop backwards and forwards in these two locations to force spawn Vomvalists. We'll try it again here. And there we go, we got another two over here, look. So you can keep doing that as Wisp. Obviously, you've only got a limited amount of time, so I would recommend getting 2 of these, 3 maximum, and then heading back to the terror list. Even less if you're, running out of time. You've perhaps gathered your lures a bit slower. But yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to cover for this video, guys. So if you have any questions or comments, or you have any tactics that you like to use that you think perhaps will beat any of these, then please do feel free to leave them in the chat. Always looking for ways to improve speed and efficiency, so do go ahead and comment, like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.